The River Nile. For thousands of years, its waters have brought life to the desert, fertile fields fed by annual floods. Along its banks, a remarkable civilization blossomed. This was ancient Egypt, golden pharaohs, towering pyramids, power and mystery, but also invention. New ideas took root and grew, ideas that changed the world. Pioneers, thinkers, builders, genius born from necessity, shaped by the river's rhythms. They saw not just what was, but what could be. We often think of grand monuments, the silent gaze of the Sphinx, treasure-filled tombs of kings. Wonders, yeah, but the true legacy is all around us, hidden in small daily things, in the way we write, in the way we measure time, in the way we care for our appearance. Relentless innovators, problem solvers with modern creativity, different world, familiar minds, driven to bring order to chaos, to build the permanent in a changing world, a journey of discovery. How do you preserve an idea? How do you send a message across great distances or through time itself? The Egyptians found a beautiful and powerful answer. They invented a form of writing we call hieroglyphics. It is a system of enchanting pictures, an owl, a reed, a human eye. Each symbol could represent a sound, an object, or an idea. It was incredibly flexible. It allowed them to record everything, the deeds of their pharaohs, the spells to guide the dead, the accounts of the royal treasury. Writing gave them a form of immortality. It allowed their voices to speak to us thousands of years later. Writing, however, is of little use without something to write on. Stone is permanent, but it is not portable. The Egyptians found a solution growing right on the banks of their river, the papyrus plant. This humble reed was a gift from nature. They sliced its stem into thin strips, laid the strips in a crisscross pattern, pressed them together, let them dry in the sun. The plant's sticky sap glued the strips into a smooth, light, durable sheet. It was the world's first paper, a revolutionary invention that would change communication forever. The Egyptians were keen observers of the world. Their survival depended on it. They noticed the Nile flooded at roughly the same time each year. The flooding coincided with the reappearance of a particular star, Sirius. By tracking the sun and Sirius, they created a calendar. 365 days, 12 months, 30 days each, 5 extra days, remarkably accurate. The first of its kind ancestor of our calendar. Practical needs drove mathematics. Floodwaters erased field boundaries. Land had to be redistributed accurately. This required geometry. Area of squares, area of rectangles, area of triangles. They could estimate the area of a circle, used for farming and for temples and pyramids. Precise right angles and straight lines came from math. Advances in medicine, papyrus medical scrolls, observations, diagnoses, treatments, surgical procedures, setting broken bones, simple brain surgery. Doctors understood cleanliness. They stitched wounds, medicinal plants and herbs, mixed with magic sometimes, but grounded in empirical observation, a scientific approach. Invention in Egypt was not just for pyramids and papyrus. The same spirit of ingenuity was woven into the very fabric of everyday life, shaping how people looked, dressed, and even spent their leisure time. The Egyptians cared deeply about their personal appearance, developing a sophisticated beauty regimen. Both men and women from all social classes used cosmetics, but they are most famous for their dramatic eye makeup. The black coal they used to line their eyes was made by grinding a mineral called galena. This was not just for beauty. They believed it had magical healing properties, offering protection from the evil eye, but it also had practical purposes. The dark liner reduced the sun's glare and was thought to repel the disease-carrying flies that swarmed near the Nile. For eyeshadow, they ground green malachite into a powder. They also used red ochre mixed with fat to create a form of lipstick or blush. They were also masters of perfumery, creating scents from flowers like lilies and fragrant resins such as myrrh and frankincense. And to combat the dry desert climate, they used a variety of oils and creams to moisturize their skin and keep it soft. Their inventiveness extended to their clothing. In the hot climate of Egypt, heavy fabrics were impractical, so they discovered how to cultivate the flax plant and learned to weave its fibers into a light, airy fabric, linen. They became masters of linen production, developing techniques to create textiles of an incredible fineness and quality that remains impressive even today. The finest linen, known as royal linen, was almost transparent and was a symbol of immense wealth and status, highly prized by the elite. While linen was used for the simple kilts worn by farmers and laborers, it was also expertly crafted into the elaborate, pleated dresses and gowns of noble women. Linen was also essential for the afterlife, used to wrap mummified bodies, preserving them for eternity. And what did they do for fun? The Egyptians loved to play board games. Archaeologists have found many ancient game boards, beautifully crafted from wood or ivory. The most popular of these was a game called senet, which means passing. It was more than just a pastime. It represented the soul's perilous journey through the underworld. Even their timekeeping was an invention. For nighttime or cloudy days when sundials were useless, they created water clocks, or clepsydres. These clever devices used a steady drip of water to mark the passing hours, which was essential for timing nighttime religious ceremonies. The story of a civilization is often told not by its kings, but by the tools held in the hands of its people. These objects reveal how they lived and what they built, and the Egyptians were brilliant toolmakers, masters of shaping their world. Their greatest structures were made of stone, from softer limestone to incredibly hard granite, and they needed tools to cut and shape it with astonishing precision. Early on, they used simple stone hammers to pound away at the rock, but they soon developed more advanced technology. Learning to smelt copper, they fashioned it into the first metal tools like chisels and saws. They used these copper saws, but also learned to harden the metal by adding tin, creating bronze, an alloy that was stronger and held a sharper edge. To cut through hard granite, they used the saws along with an abrasive powder like quartz sand. Patiently, workers would saw back and forth, the sand doing the real cutting, a process that could take days to slice through a single block. It was a slow and laborious process, but it allowed them to achieve perfectly flat surfaces and sharp edges. Farming was the backbone of their society, and their tools made it possible. We have already seen the shaduf for lifting water, but they also invented the ox-drawn plow. Before this, farmers had to break up the soil by hand with simple hoes. By harnessing the power of an animal, a single farmer could prepare a much larger area of land for planting. This wasn't just about saving labor, it was a revolution in efficiency that allowed them to cultivate the fertile Nile soil more deeply than ever before. This dramatically increased food production. They also developed the sickle, a curved blade with a handle, for harvesting their crops of wheat and barley. These simple but effective agricultural tools were essential for feeding the population and creating the surplus that funded the pharaoh's grand projects. The Egyptians were also pioneers in the art of making glass. At first, they did not make clear glass as we know it. Instead, they created a type of opaque glass paste, a substance related to faience which they could mold and fire. They would wrap this molten paste around a core of clay and sand. Once it cooled, the core would be scraped out, leaving a small, beautifully colored vessel. These were luxury items, used to hold expensive perfumes and cosmetics, and were highly prized by the kingdom's elite. They were masters of color, creating brilliant blues, greens, and yellows. These vibrant hues were derived from minerals like copper and iron, a testament to their growing understanding of chemistry. This early glassmaking was a complex chemical process, a form of high technology for the ancient world, and Egyptian glass was treasured throughout the Mediterranean. Today is the 9th of September 2025. As we go about our day, the world of the ancient Egyptians can feel very distant. It is a lost world of sand and stone, a civilization of pharaohs and pyramids that can seem more like legend than history. Yet its echoes are all around us. When you check the date on your phone, you are using a system of 365 days that they first conceived by watching the stars. They saw that the star Sirius reappeared just before the Nile's annual life-giving flood. This celestial marker became their new year, allowing them to precisely plan their planting and harvesting seasons. Their desire to organize time to bring predictability to the year lives on in the calendar that governs our own lives. It is a quiet but profound connection, a silent tribute to their astronomical genius. Think of the words you read. The very idea of using a lightweight, portable material for writing began with their invention of papyrus. Every piece of paper on your desk is a descendant of those reeds they harvested from the Nile. Before this, knowledge was trapped on heavy clay or stone. Papyrus made information portable, revolutionizing administration, literature, and the very spread of ideas across the ancient world. Their system of hieroglyphics showed the world that language could be captured in symbols, an idea that evolved into the alphabets we use today. The act of writing, of sharing knowledge across time and space, is a gift from that ancient civilization. They built the first great libraries, laying the foundation for our own unending quest for knowledge. Look at the buildings around us. The use of massive stone columns in our grandest public buildings is a style borrowed directly from their temples at Karnak and Luxor. These weren't just structural supports. They were often carved to resemble papyrus stalks or lotus flowers, turning stone into a symbolic representation of the natural world. This fusion of monumental engineering and intricate symbolism inspired generations of architects. Their understanding of geometry and engineering set the stage for all of Western architecture. Even in medicine, their influence remains. Their detailed observations of the body and disease were a crucial first step on the long road to modern medical science. Ancient texts, like the Edwin Smith Papyrus, reveal a surprisingly rational approach, detailing diagnoses and treatments for injuries with methodical precision. They set bones and stitched wounds, laying a foundation for clinical observation. Their knowledge of surgery and pharmacy was passed on to the Greeks and Romans, becoming part of the bedrock of Western medicine. Even our use of makeup and jewelry has roots in their culture. The iconic kohl eyeliner wasn't just for beauty, it was believed to protect the eyes from the sun's harsh glare. The legacy of Egypt is not just in museums, it is alive, an invisible thread connecting our modern world to their ancient ingenuity.